Welcome to Absolute Faith Within, hosted by Kiera Williams.
And Erica Binauhan.
Absolute Faith Within explores the power of faith and spirituality in our everyday lives.
Join us as we delve into our personal journeys, discovering how faith empowers and encourages us.
You'll hear candid conversations from Erica and I about everything from mental health, faith, love, and so much more.
So whether you're looking for a friend, an advice, a faith-based content, or just a genuine connection, this podcast surely will help you develop
Absolute Faith Within. So today's episode is really exciting because it is our very first on-camera episode, and so we're super excited to delve into the topic of careers, how faith influences our current career paths, and how it helps us overcome challenges as well. So without further ado, let's jump in.
Yes, so before we dive into about our careers, Kiera, how are you feeling today?
I am a little bit sick, but nevertheless, we persevere, and I'm super excited to finally meet all of you and for you all to meet us and hopefully just grow this community.
Yes, me too. I'm very excited today. Kind of a little bit nervous. Also, physically very sore everywhere. So me and Kiera signed up for this Spartan race. Yes, so we have been training almost every day this week, and it's not easy. And also, it is my first marathon race in a sense, right?
Yeah, no, like it's literally the biggest race called the Beast. It's basically a half marathon plus 30 obstacles and a hike. It's a lot. She's doing that. I'm doing the smaller version, a 5K with 20 obstacles, but still a bit rough, very rough.
Yeah, so kind of tired, but very excited for this episode.
All right, let's stop talking about how tired we are.
So, Kiera, what inspired you to do what you do? Actually, what do you do again, Kiera?
Good question. What do I do? Some of you are new here. I am a filmmaker, but as you all know, gigging or being a creative in this economy, you have to have, side hustles and everything. So, but yeah, I'm a screenwriter, director, and I really think my desire to become a filmmaker came down to wanting to help people and to inspire change in the world. No matter what is going on in the world, if there's tragedy, we come to the movies to laugh, to cry, to care. If you know, you know. But yeah, I mean, everyone watches media. Even people in the most remote, some of the most remote parts of the world, they find these really old cell phones and somehow they watch old episodes of Friends. And yeah, I think just because so many people watch media, I wanted to create films, tell stories that really uplift humans and show that even in the darkest of ages, we can triumph and persevere and just show the potential we have as humans to grow and to be better while authentically shedding light on the human experience.
Oh. What's like your favorite movie of all time, by the way?
No! And this is, that's literally the worst question to ask a filmmaker.
Oh,
really? Oh my gosh, let me just shout out a random movie. I won't say it's like of all time, but I really love A Bug's Life, like the animated movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I love that movie.
I did not expect that.
Okay, and yeah, what do you do?
Yes, I thought you were gonna ask me my favorite movie is.
Well, what's your favorite movie and what do you do?
Now I feel pressured. Now I felt that pressure you felt. I think my favorite movie is. Oh, why did I ask you that question? It's a trilogy. Oh, what is it?
The Hunger Games.
No, not that one. I finished it last week though. The future one.
Divergent?
No, not Divergent. I do love Divergent though. I love Theo James.
I just rewatched that this week.
Wait, hold on. I got this. The Back to the Future.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, good. Okay,
yeah.
classic.
Yeah. So I really love Back to the Future. Like I can watch it multiple times.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, though, what I do, as I mentioned in the previous episode too, and to our new listeners, I am a high school math teacher in Los Angeles, California. And as I had mentioned in the past, teaching is not something that really crossed my mind as a career, you know? In the Philippines, it's such a low pay, and being just a teacher, I think everyone knows how hard it is, just dealing with a lot of children, preparing a lot of things, and also even the pressure of, are my students doing well or not? But I think the reason what inspired me to really become a teacher was my pastor, who really influenced me so much. So he became like a teacher and a mentor to me, and because I grew so much from his learning and teaching as a person, I also felt really inspired to do the same. Because in the past, I've wanted to be a CPA lawyer for a very long time, and as I mentioned, I never once thought of becoming a teacher. And before we moved to the US, I remember I started praying so much. And there was one time when I really saw myself far ahead in the future, and I was asking God, is this career path for me or not? And then I saw myself far ahead in the future where I felt so miserable and depressed as a lawyer, as a CPA. And I kind of considered that as a sign from God that maybe this is not the path that He wants me to be. And as I mentioned in the past too, I taught a lot of Bible study at church. This is the time when I was so active at church. And I realized, I think I'm actually kind of passionate with teaching. And so I decided to switch my career into becoming switch my major into becoming a teacher instead. And so I focus in majoring in math and focusing in math education. But yeah, that's how I started my teaching career.
Wow, and that's really amazing that you kind of you received a very specific revelation to your prayer about how you should live your life.
Yeah.
And that's such a testament to how God is always working for us, even though we can't always see what we don't always know what is best for us, but God does. And it's such a beautiful thing, and I'm so happy.
Thank you, Kiera. And I think just to add to that, it's truly amazing because when I started teaching, that's when I realized, I never really realized how much I loved it. Because especially when I started teaching for first 2 months, it was mentally, emotionally, and just physically draining. But every time I get home, I was so excited to teach again the next day. And that's when I realized, I was like, wow, God truly know what was in my heart. And during those times, the prayers I prayed ages ago, like what you said, really came to mind again, and really realized, wow, God surely knows what's best for us as well. And of course, right now, I'm teaching, but maybe it might change in the future. But right now, I really do love my job.
Amazing.
Yes. But for you, Kiera, what are some difficulties that you've encountered as a filmmaker?
I think some of the biggest difficulties, it's kind of two-sided. You have the physical, just, being an artist, you are a freelancer. Especially if you're working in production, and so you don't necessarily have job security. It's after literally you're looking for a new job after every production. Now I am a little bit more on the corporate side for a bit, but I think that can be hard and testing. But when it comes to actually being on set, I think sometimes it can be challenging in terms of really holding yourself accountable and managing your faith, being able to make services and have prayer, consistent prayer time with God. There was one, actually, I did 2 back-to-back features. They were the first features that I had worked on, and they were rough. The first one, it was 15-hour days. We always had Fridays, which is when you're working Friday over into Saturday. And so when you're working 6 days a week, oftentimes 15 hours, 12 hours is usually the minimum for any set. It really breaks you down, mentally, it's really tough on your mental health, being able to take care of your nutrition and eat well. And of course, spiritually, because you really have to set those boundaries. But I was really grateful because during that time, because I only had these small pockets of time, it really pushed me to just pray, really, if I only have 1 minute, use that quick moment to be all right,
Desperate
God, Holy Spirit. Or lunch, we never had a full lunch break. Usually, at the time, that first feature, I was a PA, and so it's kind of like a working lunch, but I would just kind of disappear so that I can at least pray. And of course, I have my walkie-talkie, so people are talking in your ear. So it's all right, God, I'm praying, and then I'm okay, I gotta give these other people my attention too. But it was just such a great test of how can I prioritize God in my life when everything else demands attention?
Right, right. Wow, that's being a filmmaker is a lot. Actually, even when we were just setting up for this episode, I was seeing her in action of what she does. I was like, this is so tiring. I'm like, I can never be this. But anyway, yeah, for me too, I think first thing you said was job insecurity. So in education, like I think being in academia, there's, especially right now here in California, there is a decline in enrollment issue that is happening because of the birth rate. So that is really affecting a lot of districts. So because of that, there's this job insecurity that it's like, am I gonna have a job next year or not? And it was so sad because when I was at the district office this week, I was talking to my teacher friend, and basically he told me he's not coming back next year. So just hearing that, it's so sad. And knowing this person, he's a great teacher, and he has a year-old baby right now. So thinking about those things, I'm like, oh man, that sucks, right? So there's that part. And then also, like for me, there's one time when, I got framed by a student who falsely accused me that I asked him to basically unzip his jacket to show what his gender was. So just to give you context, I did not do that. So I'm going to give you a brief context. So when I was teaching at this one school, basically I think it's the first few days of school, right? And usually first week of school is just getting to know the students and introducing the curriculum to them. Basically on the first day, what happened was that I was talking to the student and trying to get to know the student. And so this student who tried to frame me and falsely accused me of something is wearing a pullover. He had his hoodie on and he had a ponytail too. His physique is so small. So this is a really small freshman white kid. But he's so pretty that I actually thought he was a girl. And at that time, I accidentally misgendered him. So, instead of saying he, I addressed him as a she. And, right away, the students were like, oh, miss, it's actually a boy. He's a boy. And then I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I really apologize. And then at the time, I was like, I disclosed my background to them. I'm like, oh, you know what? I actually grew up in the Philippines. So back then, we don't use pronouns. So in the future, I might accidentally misgender you guys, but just please correct me right away. And then I'll do my best not to do the same mistake again. So I apologized to them in advance, and then I apologized personally, with that kid. But then the kid started crying. And so I kept apologizing to him. I'm like, I'm really sorry. Pull him to the side, just take all the time you need. But what really surprised me was at the end of my first week at this school, I received an email from the principal, and she was like, can I meet you over lunch? And usually, as a teacher, you don't usually get that. So I met over with her during lunchtime, and she was telling me that there was a dad who called and basically said that I asked his son to unzip his jacket so that he could show what his gender was. And so I got so confused because that week was actually really going well for me. And so she was just like, could you recall an incident? And so I told her what happened. And then she was so surprised too. But the good thing was she was really kind about it. And she was telling me how I was able to handle it properly. And she told me that they didn't really believe that phone call because that specific student had already a track record at the school. So this kid has been a troublemaker, but I got to know this kid eventually, and this kid is someone who really needed some attention. But, after that incident, it really scared me because I was like, wow, this is a pretty dangerous job, I could totally just get framed by students. And also when this was happening, there was a shooting incident happening in Virginia. So I remember I got home the same day, and then my parents were really concerned, and they were like, you're sure you want to be a teacher? And then I told the story to my friend, and she said the same thing. She asked me the same thing. She was like, are you really sure you want to do this? Because there was all this shooting incident happening at the same time. And actually, the previous school I was student teaching at, they actually found a kid who was holding a handgun in a bathroom. So the good thing was there was another student who saw them and reported about it, so they were able to disarm that kid right away. So even these things, it's really scary that my safety is at risk by doing the job that I love. So that's just one thing, I guess, the difficulties. I think it's more mental difficulty that I try to overcome when it comes to teaching, that hopefully, I never put my place or get to that situation myself. But yeah, so that's why every single day I usually pray for my safety, for my students' safety, and hopefully they won't have those kinds of wrong thoughts. And that's why I also try my best to really have good relationship with my students.
Wow. So yeah, there are like quite a lot of challenges. How has your faith helped you navigate your career?
Yeah, I think as I had, mentioned earlier, I think becoming a teacher, I think God really orchestrated my life in that sense of how I switched my major. But when I started teaching, I think that's when I realized more. I was like, wow, I don't think there's any teacher out there who could survive without God. Because it's just, as I mentioned, it's mentally exhausting. It's not easy to be with a lot of students every single day because, they tell you stories about their lives. And that's just on top of doing your job. So like what you said, it's like when I try to have those pockets of time, I really try to call upon God. And there was even a moment during my career when I was driving to work and I remember I was crying. I was like, God, please help me get through the day. It's so hard. And, but at the end of the day, it's still a very rewarding job, but I couldn't deny that in the beginning it was really hard. And I just try to think, this will really help me grow as a teacher in this profession. And so I try to keep a positive mindset. And I think being able to listen to the words, sing praises to God helped me relieve my stress in so many ways. And whenever I pray to God, God really, I think, puts some peace in my heart and confidence whenever I feel like, am I doing enough? Am I good enough for my students as I do this job? Yeah. But for you, Kiera, how has faith really helped you, as a filmmaker?
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like both of us are going through a lot with our career, like with the job insecurity, with the stress, and everything else.
Yeah. One of the biggest things, I think, faith just helps me navigate the right opportunities.
Right.
Because in film, of course, you're a freelancer, it's hard to get a job. But then also the jobs that you do get, sometimes they're not that great. And so I really, have experienced God opening up doors to really amazing opportunities. Even that the first feature that I had worked on, there was a lot going on, but the person that I was reporting to was just like, you're doing things I never did until years into my career. And I really attribute that to my faith into God, really being prayerful about the types of opportunities that I take. And even with different internships, I've had an internship where I just said hello to a person and then they're like, oh, we bring on interns. Or there's one internship that really opened the door up to being on those features. Also getting into an amazing program with a great honorary organization. That was just I had messaged someone on LinkedIn who was an alum of a Christian university that I had went to, and a year later, even though we had only ever talked once, he gave my name to a recruiter. And so it's just things like this. And of course you can say oh, people, they just think of things, but I really say it was God, because there are so many opportunities out there, and a lot of them just aren't great. They're terrible films, and also a lot of people on films cannot always be the easiest to work with. And so just from every single opportunity that I've gotten, how it all fell into place so smoothly, to being able to work with great people, to work on great stories. These are all things that I attribute to God, because I was really careful and prayerful about the types of opportunities that I would get. And even the times where I wasn't secure, in my work or finances, God still even provided, either working through people or just making crazy miracles. I won't go just for the sake of time, but there are times where this the craziest things, kind of not like money falling out of the sky, but I feel like in that vein. But really, just God has been here every step of the way, and I think a big part of that too is I always put my faith, or at least I try to always put my faith first. I'm human, I'm lacking, and I'm still working towards being consistent in my faith and relationship with God. But one thing that I told Erica before is that when I first seriously started my faith journey as an adult, I basically stopped writing. I wasn't doing anything creative. I wasn't even watching movies or listening to music. I just kind of isolated myself so that it was just feeding myself spiritually with the Word of God, and by praying and just communing with God. And from that, like at the right time when I was prepared, all of these blessings and opportunities just like came raining down from the heavens.
Wow. No, I think it's amazing, like what you said. When God does something for us, you can't really deny that it's Him. Like there's things that's happening in our lives that you're just like, ah, that's God. And I think something like the opportunities that happen to you, a similar story that happened to me as well in this teaching career, like especially with the current job I have as well. So even for me, like the job I have right now, I really think 100% that it was God who led me to this job. Just because, like what you said, there are people who even help us, and God works through people. And it's amazing because, there's this summer school principal who helped me one time. Basically, I only am working with her for that entire summer. But during that time, I don't know, for some reason, she just really likes me a lot. Like whenever I need something, she always helps me and she always checks in on me. And then I was like, wow, this person is really nice. And then at the time I was trying to, find a job that is closer to my house. And there's this school that opened, which is like 5 minutes away from my house, by the way. They have an opening, and then I applied for the job, got a call back from them, and then I told that principal about it. I was like, by the way, I won't be here this day because I have an interview. But then her reaction really surprised me because she was so happy. She was like, what? They called you back? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have the interview like this day, so I won't be here. And she was like, yeah, just take the whole day off. I'll take care of it and all that. But what really surprised me was that she was like, by the way, Erica, at the end of work hours today, like meet me for an hour and then let's just sit down and ask me any questions you have regarding the interview. And this is so crazy for me because, when I heard the phone call and all that, I was really nervous that I may not be able to prepare properly for the interview. And then I feel like God just really answered my prayer through that person. And during that 1 hour, she was answering all my questions regarding the district, and she was telling me what to do and what to prepare. And so I was really happy and thankful. And then when I came back for the interview, I passed it. I went to my teaching demo. I remember that right before I started my teaching demo, when I was trying to connect to their Wi-Fi, right below the school's Wi-Fi, the other Wi-Fi was "God is with you." So I was like, wow, like thank you, God. And then I remember I went to the restroom too right before my interview, and there was this what do you call this? Sticky notes board. So at the time, the teachers were writing sticky notes to themselves during their first year of teaching. It's like, what would you say to your first year as a teacher? And then one of the sticky notes was, God leads you to the place where you should be. Oh. And so when I saw that, I felt this surge of confidence in my heart that things is gonna work out, and if it's not, God is still with me. And it could be, a way for me to prepare for whatever is God preparing for me. But yeah, like what you said, when we dedicate our life to God and we really pray about certain things, God really makes things fall into place, and you cannot deny it. You just cannot deny it. But yeah, so yeah, and I'm sure, there's so many things that God has done for us as in our career. But for you, Kiera, as we talk about all our stressors, the things that we are going through in our career, what do you usually do to unwind?
Well, praising.
Praising?
Yeah, that's one thing. Like
Kiera has a really good voice, by the way.
Oh, so does Erica. So
mine is tolerable.
But I think, yeah, because sometimes I think when you're stressed out and focused, ideally it's just like immediately pray, but sometimes when you're stressed or there's so many things on your mind, it's hard to just sit and just talk to God. So I think praise, because I do love music. I love singing, and then when you're singing to God, it's basically praying. It's praying with a melody, right. And so that's a big thing. Exercise, when I can. I'm not consistent yet at the moment, but naturally, it's just a physiological thing. You exercise, endorphins release. and baking. That's one thing, like I never thought of baking as a stress reliever, but like I love food and I love, you know, nourishing my body and trying out new recipes, and I realized like that's actually one of the things.
Wow, I love that.
And what about you?
Yeah, definitely not baking. I'm good at cleaning the dishes though. I am still trying to learn how to cook. But yeah, for me, when I'm super stressed, I would usually take a hot or cold shower, a really long one. So I'm really thankful for all the rain that is coming to California right now. Because these days, whenever I shower, I don't have to feel guilty that I'm using so much, water, as we are in a drought here. But yeah, definitely showering. And like what you said, exercising really helps me a lot. So I try to go for walks and I try to go to the gym a lot if, I feel super stressed, and just to take it out, out of the stress there. And then I think lastly, that's really prayer. So when I'm super stressed, I think, and getting super emotional as well, one thing that I really try to do is to just step back and, just start praying to God. Basically venting to God and then asking God, to help me get through whatever I was going through that day. And it really helped me so much because a lot of times, as I had mentioned, in my job, there's an important, discernment that teachers need to learn, especially creating boundaries between the students and the teacher. You're not just dealing with one kid, but you're dealing with, like for me right now, I think I have almost 200 students. So, it's like you talk to them every single day. And then there's in education right now, there's this thing called, what do you call this? Decision fatigue. Have you heard that term?
Yeah.
So as teachers, we basically are making hundreds of decisions every single day. And so by the time I get home, my brain just shuts down. And a lot of my friends tell me, it's like, Eric, after work, he just checks out. I was like, yeah, I don't have energy to decide on anything. But these days I've been trying to work out after work, and it's really helping me a lot rather than just taking a nap, which is very tempting. I do love taking naps to relieve stress. But like Kiera, I do love praising as well. I think I have a really deep connection between God when it comes to music or praise. And, sometimes it's hard to pray. So it's easier for me to just sing. And after that, I feel better. And then I'm able to pray.
Thank you so much, Erica, for, just sharing how you utilize your faith to overcome all of these various challenges. And we'd love to hear from all of you as well. Please let us know what you do, how faith has helped you navigate your career, overcome challenges, and any ways you'd like to grow. You can comment down below if you're watching on YouTube. You can also comment if you're listening in on Spotify as well. But please, just keep us, stay connected. We'd love to build a really grand community here and to grow together as we live our lives of faith.
Thank you, Kiera. So everyone, this has been Absolute Faith with Erica Binauhan
and Kiera Williams.
Bye.
Bye-bye.